This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
3 centre-backs out for the season. Fabinho, Keita, Jota, Mane and Alisson all missing. Liverpool really felt the loss of their key players tonight and head into Sunday's crucial clash with Manchester City, 7 points behind them in the Premier League standings, having played a game more. Welcome to the debrief on the Blood Red channel after Liverpool saw a repeat of their game at Anfield against Burnley last week. They just never looked like scoring a goal. Alisson Becker was missing tonight because the Brazilian woke up feeling unwell this morning. He doesn't have COVID, but Liverpool are going to need a lot more than just their regular goalkeeper back for them to get themselves back into title contention. Joining me to talk through the action is my Blood Red colleague Kai Delaney. Kai, after a big win at Spurs last midweek, then the performance against West Ham over the weekend, all you wanted was for Liverpool to turn up, put in a big performance and beat Brighton tonight, but it just never, ever looked likely to be the case.
No, not at all. It's really disappointing, actually, not just the defeat, but the manner of the defeat. It seems like with the last couple of games, the big win over Tottenham and then a brilliant performance, has to be said, at West Ham. In the last league game, it seemed like Liverpool turned the corner and were out of the dip that they had been in, especially after the low of that defeat to Burnley in the last time out at Anfield. But it was a carbon copy almost of that game. Liverpool, I think the first real chance came to Salah on the 70th minute. The decent move down the right-hand side. Trent played one in and Salah came at him quickly, missed the target. But that was the first kind of real moment of where Liverpool looked like scoring. And that's really not good enough against a team like Brighton in the lower half of the table. You have to be winning against these teams to try and build any momentum. And sadly, it looks like Liverpool are right back where they were.
Yeah, still in 4th place. West Ham in 5th. They did win tonight, actually. A really good win for them away at Aston Villa. But we shouldn't really be talking about those sorts of teams with this Liverpool team, should we? It's crazy that we're in this situation. And Manchester City, of course, won earlier in the day as well. They comfortably dispatched Burnley. Liverpool now haven't won any of their 4 previous home matches. It's just back into that period, isn't it? We thought that Liverpool had got themselves out of that period, but it just feels like you're back to square one again. And as I say, they just didn't look likely to even score a goal. I think it was only 1 shot on target in the entire match, which, Brighton are a good team. Statistically, they're a lot better than where they sit in the table, but Liverpool just have to be beating teams like this.
Yeah, there's absolutely no question. Like you said there, that's the worrying thing, that they didn't even look like scoring. If we had been knocking on the door all night and they'd scored a scrappy goal from a corner. I mean their goal was scrappy, to be fair. The manner in which it came, I think it took 3 deflections and there was nothing Kelleher could do. I thought he did everything was asked of him tonight. Nothing he could do about the goal. And you have to remember that as easy as it is to sit here and say Liverpool aren't winning and whatever circumstances there are, they should be beating Brighton and Burnley at home. But when you go through it, tonight they're missing Alisson, they're missing Van Dijk, Matip, Joe Gomez, Fabinho, Mane. It's an incredible injury list. It's been well documented this season, but I think it's really beginning to take its toll. And I think Mane, you put the title tonight as Sadio, Liverpool missing Sadio Mane. I think that sums it up. We didn't really look like scoring. We just had no creativity. I was concerned that Oxlade-Chamberlain was the first substitute off the bench rather than Curtis Jones. I think Jones has been brilliant when he's been playing recently, and I'm not sure. I'm not going to question Klopp at all, but I'm not sure quite what the thinking was of bringing Oxlade-Chamberlain on first, who had a couple of shots from kind of 30, 40 yards. But it's a worrying time.
It certainly is, yeah. I mean, you look at those 8 players who were missing. I think there's a pretty good argument that at least 6, if not 7 of those players would have started tonight had they been fit. The other one probably would have come off the bench at the very least. So it is a sort of excuse in place for Liverpool, but is it an excuse? I mean, it's obviously an explanation as to why they've not won, but should the team that has been put on the pitch by Jurgen Klopp tonight have been able to perform better than that? Or do you just think they looked tired, they look jaded, and it's just starting to sort of catch up with them this season.
There's no question the team that Jurgen Klopp put out tonight is better than the team that they were facing in Brighton. There's no disrespect to Brighton, it's just the way it is. Even Liverpool's, that is a mix of the first team and kind of the fringe players. It still should be winning that game comfortably 2-3-0. But Jurgen Klopp won't use it as an excuse. I'm sure he'll be asked something similar in his press conference, which we're going to cover here on Blood Red shortly. But he certainly won't be using it as an excuse. He would be expecting for that side that he picked tonight to go out there and win, and that's what you need. You know, it is an unprecedented injury situation, but at the same time, when these players are given their chances, they've got to be able to come in and take them. And some of them have. James Milner's been very good over the last few weeks, and as I just said, Curtis Jones has been great this season when he's had the opportunities. But Divock Origi tonight, lackluster when he came on. As I said, Oxlade-Chamberlain didn't really create a lot. So I think it's I'm not really sure where they go from here. I'm a little bit lost for words, to be honest. That was probably the strongest team available to Klopp tonight, given the circumstances. I think we need Mane back. We need Jota back. Obviously, he's been pictured training, and that's going to be a welcome boost. He was influential and probably Liverpool's most informed player up until the point he got injured. But it's like I said, I don't really know where to go from here, to be honest.
Yeah, Diogo Jota, as you say, pictured earlier today back in training on his own. We don't think he'll be back in team training or anywhere near contention for another couple of weeks yet, and plenty of big games to come in that period as well. But I suppose that the big concern for me, and the sort of pattern that we've seen over the last few matches against the sort of lesser teams who sit in and defend, is that it's not anything special that they're doing, is it? They're putting bodies behind the ball. And yes, they defend really, really well. They put bodies between the ball and the goal, which you have to do. But it doesn't seem like there's anything more to it than that. Liverpool surely have got enough creativity within that team. When you think of Firmino, Shaqiri, players like that, Liverpool have to play that extra pass to be able to create something. And it just it never seemed to look likely to happen tonight. I mean, as I say, Liverpool have got big games coming up. They've got probably better teams than what they've been facing. Is that almost a good thing for Liverpool, that they might actually have some space now to attack against Manchester City, against Leicester, against teams like that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at the ironic thing is you look at the results and draws and defeats against West Brom, Southampton, Burnley, Brighton, Newcastle, who have all, some of them, Southampton and West Ham have had decent seasons, but a lot of those teams, you should be beating all of them regardless. But Liverpool still sit top of the mini top six table against the other teams in and around them. So they're playing very well and getting the results against the top sides. It's against the lower teams where they are having difficulties. And not to say that Liverpool have been found out, because far from it. This is still a great team that only a few months ago absolutely walked away with the Premier League title. But the game plan, if you're Man City next week, and there's absolutely nowhere to go into because of the expansive football they play and Guardiola's philosophy that they would never do it, but you would be in half a mind to come in and put 9 men behind the ball, almost 10 men behind the ball, leave one up front and play on the break and hope for kind of a scrappy goal or a counter, because every game that Liverpool seems to be struggling in, that's the tactics the teams are using, and they can't find a way through it. Thiago was signed with that in mind. Liverpool came up against these things last season and more often than not did manage to come out with the win. And we had a lot of late goals and late wins last season, but it feels like that if you're going to face Liverpool now, that's the game plan you would use, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, Ozan Kabak not eligible to play tonight, but fellow new signing Ben Davies, of course, signed from Preston on deadline day. He was eligible. I mean, it was a slight surprise to me that Jurgen Klopp didn't put him in, because, as I say, you look at the fixtures coming up, you do wonder when a good time is to play him. And I think Liverpool would have massively, massively benefited from having Jordan Henderson in midfield, wouldn't they? So is it in hindsight that we're looking back and saying that was possibly a mistake from Jurgen Klopp, or could he have taken that risk and maybe thrown Ben Davies in just a couple of days after he'd signed him?
He could have. Of course, you say it's the benefit of hindsight. We know with Jurgen Klopp, he doesn't like to throw people in. I can only think of a couple of times where he has. Van Dijk played on his debut in the FA Cup, like played straight away. But even then, his first Premier League game, Van Dijk was on the bench, so it wasn't a surprise that Ben Davies didn't start. And to be fair to, we know what you're going to get out of Henderson. He's never going to put in a poor performance, and he didn't tonight. Again, I don't think Phillips particularly did anything wrong. It's hard because that type of game, you're going to have all the ball. You're not really going to be troubled defensively anyway. You could maybe ask a question mark over the goal. I know it kind of bobbled around and stuff. It's maybe one of them where no one's particularly done anything wrong, but if you've got Van Dijk there, for example, it just doesn't happen anyway. But yeah, it's a tricky one. When does Davies or Kabak, when do they come in? I'd be staggered if one of them gets thrown in against City. Like I said, without any serious training, we've got the games on Sunday, so we've got a couple of days between now and then, probably a recovery day tomorrow, full session on Friday, and a session on Saturday. So they're going to have a couple of sessions at most to be thrown in against a City side who look like they're going to run away with the league. So I'm not sure. I think Phillips will probably keep his place, but as you say, for me, I don't think a defensive change would have made any difference tonight. I think it was trying to break Brighton down where we really came up short.
Yeah, fingers crossed Fabinho could be back for that game over the weekend. I think it'll be interesting to see if he's pictured before then. Of course, we'll keep you updated on that across Blood Red over the next few days. Just finally then, Kai, looking ahead to the Manchester City game, obviously that was always going to be massive. First of all, has it become even more massive now? And secondly, do you have any hope at all now that Liverpool can still retain their Premier League title, or do they just have to switch the focus now and go for that top four?
It's a really difficult one to say, given that we're just over halfway through the season. But I think the game has changed from probably must not lose to now must win. I think they're now, I think, 7 points behind, and City have a game in hand. You've got to assume they're going to win that 10 points. So even a draw now keeps a potential 10-point gap. And the way City are playing, you can't even see them dropping 10 points between now and the end of the season, let alone us, winning all our games to claw that difference back. So a big game has become even bigger. And as I said, for me now, it's must win. Hopefully it will play into Liverpool's hands with the kind of the style and expansive football City will play. You'd hope they'd go and try and win and win the game themselves, which we saw in the game against West Ham. That helps Liverpool massively. So yeah, for me, Liverpool have to go and win that now to have any chance of winning the league.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. I think it's an absolutely huge game, and of course we'll be building up to that over the next few days. That's all from us here on the debrief, though, for this evening. After another disappointing result for Liverpool, stay tuned for Jurgen Klopp's press conference. That will be interesting to see what he has to say, and of course plenty more reaction, as I say, to come over the next few days. Until next time, though, from myself, Matt Addison, and from Delaney, thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.